Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be starting yet another reading vlog. As I've said about my last like 7 reading vlogs, I'm very excited about this one because I do have quite the spooky TBR lined up for this week. I have been saving these books for the beginning of October. All of them just give me very strong early October vibes. So I'm really hoping I can get through all of them this week. So let me quickly talk about my TBR and then we'll just jump on into it. So the first book is a book that I've been putting off for a while, but I'm finally going to force myself to do it. And that is me reading The Twisted Dead by Darcy Coates. This is the 3rd book in the Grave Fever series. I've put this on the TBR for many videos, many months. Have not gotten around to it. But I read the first 2 books in this series last October, so I feel like I should read the next 2 books this October, maybe the next 3. If I'm really feeling it, maybe I'll read all 3 that are left in the series, but for now I'm just gonna focus on continuing it by reading The Twisted Dead. This is kind of a series that's following a main character who wakes up and knows absolutely nothing about herself. She doesn't know where she is, she doesn't know who she is, none of that. We're following her as she is moving into this small cottage that is like on the edge of a graveyard. She finds out she can talk to ghosts. It's a good time. I really enjoyed the first 2. Very excited to kind of start unraveling more of the mystery, hopefully, in this one. Then next up I have a book that I've seen around, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my god, I need to read this book. And that is The Resurrectionist by A. Ray Dunlap. This is a book that is set in like, you know, late 1800s, probably Edinburgh, and we're following a main character who wants to be a medical student. And of course, because this is a book that is following medical students in the late 1800s, I'd say there's always like a 50% chance that grave robbing is gonna go on. So I think that's kind of like the point of this. I'm very excited about that. I love that vibe. Although now that I'm thinking about this, I may be adding another book onto this TBR because I also do have The Body Snatcher by R.L. Stevenson on my TBR for this month. So like, what a better combo? Perhaps I'll read The Body Snatcher. I don't think it's very long. Hang on, let me see. The Body Snatcher is 22 pages, so I will be reading The Body Snatcher as well this week. That has been added onto the TBR. And then finally, I do have another classic that I'm hoping to focus on this week, and that is The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. I am so excited to get into this one. I read like the first chapter of it a few weeks ago. I liked the first chapter, I just didn't have time to like get back into it. But now's the time that I'm going to be dedicating to reading The Phantom of the Opera. I'm probably gonna like reread the first chapter because it's been a minute, but I'm so excited. You guys have told me so many good things about this book in the comments of my videos recently, so you're really just like hyping me up to read this book. So we'll be reading Phantom of the Opera maybe in its entirety. I'm hoping in its entirety. And then if I do read it in its entirety, I do have The Phantom of the Auditorium lined up. So like, that'd be kind of fun too. I'm also thinking maybe if I finish The Phantom of the Opera, I will watch the Phantom of the Opera like Universal monster movie. I've made it my goal in October to watch a spooky movie every single day, and I've been watching some of the old Universal monster movies, which I've really been enjoying, and I know The Phantom of the Opera is one of the earliest ones, so I'd be really interested to see that adaptation of it, so maybe I'll do that this week as well, if I finish this, of course. This is not like a definite I'll finish it, but it's like a hopeful, maybe I'll finish it. So those are the last books that I have on my TBR. Here are how things are looking for the week. So excited about my spooky reads that I have lined up for the first week of October. Oh, I'm so excited. So yes, that's the TBR. As for things that I want to do, I want to have a very autumnal spooky week. That is my goal. I feel like I haven't been doing enough autumnal things so far in fall, so I'm gonna fix that this week for sure. I'm really hoping to go to like a pumpkin stand. Maybe I'll go apple picking. That's what I'm aiming for this week. I'd really like to do both of those things because they are on my autumn bucket list. So I gotta like start getting things off that bucket list. One of the other things that I would really like to work on this week is my sweater. If I can hold it up correctly. Here we go. Here's how my knit sweater is looking so far. I started the ribbing on the bottom. I've done the ribbing on the bottom of this thing like maybe just 2 times. It feels like I've done it 3 times. But the first time it was too big, the second time it was too small, so now I'm just adding more length onto this because I also do think it was a little bit short, so like I guess it kind of worked out. But I'm gonna try putting the ribbing on the bottom of this and just hoping and praying, honestly, that it ends up looking good. I don't know. I kind of have put a pause on working on the bottom of this, and I've been working on the sleeve a little bit. It's been making me feel better, so hopefully I can make some progress on my sweater. I'm certainly not gonna finish it because I'm not crazy. But I must say, update on my wrist situation with my knitting. Ever since I switched to tensioning my yarn differently, my wrist feels so much better, and I'm just so happy about it. So hopefully some knitting will be happening this week. I'd love to make some progress on that. I really thought I was gonna have that done in like August or something. Definitely not. It's obviously okay to take your time with things. This is kind of like my fall project now, and I kind of love that, so all is well. So those are kind of like my tentative plans for the week. I just want to have a nice cozy week. However, I'm probably not going to be starting off the week that way because I have so many assignments that I have to do. I have 3 assignments that I have to turn in before like Tuesday this week, and that's in like 2 days. So probably not gonna get a ton of reading done today. However, I do have sprints with my patrons, so I'll probably like do some reading on those, but need to focus on my assignments. I also found out that both my midterms are on the same day, so love it. Although honestly, that means I'll get the suffering over in one fell swoop. So like, I'm kind of sad about it, but I'm also kind of not sad about it. So I have some studying to do this week, which I'm not excited about. But in between all the studying, I will be doing all of the spooky reading, all of the spooky things I can. So yes, we're just gonna get on into it. I really hope you guys are excited for the TBR. Hope you guys are excited for the vlog. I'm thinking one of the first things that I wanna do, I don't know if I'm gonna do it this morning, I might do it tomorrow, but I need to make my October reading journal setup. It's currently the 4th and I haven't made it yet. I just don't know what I want to do with it yet. So I'm gonna stew on that today a little bit. And then the next thing you'll probably see is me doing my journal setup. So hopefully it looks good. I don't know, I guess we'll find out. Last year I went for like kind of a scrapbooky, random sticker everywhere kind of vibe, which I liked. Don't know if I want to do that again. I need to think about it. We'll see. But anyway, I feel like that's everything that I have to share with you guys in the intro. So we're just gonna get on into it. I hope you guys are having a stunning October so far. Hope you're having a wonderful fall, and let's just get on into the reading vlog. tonight, so it is a couple of days later, and I haven't done much reading, but I still do have an update for you guys on the Phantom of the Opera. I also do have a movie watching update because I have been watching my movies every night, obviously. It is currently the 7th, so if I watch one tonight, it'll officially be a week of me watching a spooky movie every single night of October. And I have been really enjoying it so far. It's been such a fun, like, nightly ritual to do. So 2 nights ago, I watched The Craft for the first time, which honestly, I can't believe I've never seen it because obviously I love witchy things. But I really enjoyed The Craft. It wasn't like, you know, I don't know if I'd rewatch it, honestly. But I liked it on my first viewing, and I feel like maybe in like a few years I would give it a rewatch, you know. Not like an every year rewatch, but I enjoyed it. It definitely went in some directions that I was not expecting, and I've also seen way too many bugs, rats, snakes. That was disgusting, but I liked the rest of it. I liked the vibe of it. I also love the fashion. Like, honestly, any movie set in the 90s I'm probably gonna enjoy because I love 90s fashion, so just an enjoyable watch. And then last night, I watched Sweeney Todd, which I really did not like, honestly. I saw a production of Sweeney Todd last year, and I really liked that. But the movie just really wasn't doing it for me. Like, I feel like it was too long. By the time there was like 30 minutes left, I was like checked out, honestly. But I've been meaning to like give it a try, and now I know that I don't like it, so it's all good. So, you know, they can't all be wins, and that's okay, but those are the 2 movies that I've watched. But let me give you guys my update on Phantom. So I've made it to page 48, which is chapter 5, which is continuation of box 5. I really love that some of these chapters have like the kind of long-winded chapter titles. Some of them are pretty short. They're just called like The Ghost or Box 5, or like just really like snappy things, you know? But I love that some of them are written in this long-winded style that I really like. For example, the prologue, the like title of it is, in which the author of the singular account tells the reader how he came to ascertain that the Phantom of the Opera really existed. And I just love that. I love the vibe that sets. I love that it gives you like a taste of what's coming in the chapter, like more than a normal chapter title would, but like not too much. Big fan of that. Not that that has anything to do with like the contents of the book, but like structurally, I'm a fan of that. But in the first 50 pages, we've been getting acquainted with the Paris Opera House. We've been meeting a couple of the people that work there, kind of getting a feel for how the building is set up. I really am enjoying a lot of the kind of descriptions of the opera house so far. All of the corridors seem very dark and gloomy. It feels like a very kind of like claustrophobic atmosphere almost, which I think is going to work really well going forward. But we've also been getting introduced to some of like the key players in the story, I would assume. So we've been introduced to Christine, who is kind of the like main character, I would assume, of this book. Her name is mentioned a lot on the back, so that's just what I'm gonna assume. We've also been introduced to some other like more side feeling characters. So there's like this ballerina whose name is something, I cannot remember what her name is. So Daisy has joined us. We've also been introduced to this guy whose name is Richard, and his little brother, I can't remember what his name is, but he's like really obsessed with Christine. We're getting to know a little bit about their personal lives and all of like the smaller scale things that are going on. But like the whole main thing that's happening in this book is that everybody believes there's a ghost in the opera house who has, you know, been dubbed the Phantom of the Opera. He calls himself the Phantom of the Opera because he will like write notes to the people that own the opera house and be like, I'm not satisfied with this. You need to like fix this, which I think is very funny. The opera house has recently been sold, and the 2 people that owned it previously were like, they were very cooperative. They basically did everything that the Phantom of the Opera wanted, but the new people who have come in basically think it's all a practical joke, and they're just like completely ignoring him. Because the Phantom of the Opera, he's like, I need, you know, box 5 open at all times. I might not be there, but it needs to be available, and you also have to pay me like an egregious amount of francs, I don't know how you say it exactly, every single month. And they're basically just like, no, I don't think so. So the Phantom of the Opera will like retaliate in a way. So even though he is like directly communicating with these people, some people still do not believe in the possibility that there is a ghost in the opera house. And there's kind of this like feeling of mass hysteria in this book as well, because some people are just like adamant that he does not exist, but some people are like, oh my god, like I saw him in this corridor and it was really weird, and everybody like kind of joins in a little bit. They're like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I had that feeling too. So I really like the mysterious nature of the Phantom of the Opera. You don't exactly know what his motivations are yet. You don't exactly know if he exists or not. Is he just some like random dude pulling a prank? I don't know. Obviously our narrator very much believes that the Phantom of the Opera exists, which I also really like the way that this is narrated. This is kind of told in a I don't know what the term for it is. Third person omniscient? Google has indeed told me that that is the correct term for this narration style. But I love that the narrator will sometimes reference, you know, you as the audience. It will sometimes talk about things that haven't happened yet. I've noticed this sometimes in Stephen King books where he will give you like a very small, not really substantial spoiler almost for things that are gonna happen later. And I feel like that's happening in this book a little bit too, because there have been a couple instances of like small, like minor characters being introduced and they're like, oh yeah, but like they'll be dead in 5 months. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So I love the narration style. I'm really liking the story overall so far. I'm very excited to read some more of it. I feel like, you know, I've only read 50 pages, so I don't really have much more to say at the moment. But for today, I actually might want to jump into a different book to start out with. I either want to read, well, the only other two like main books that I'm reading in this video. I'm leaning towards The Resurrectionist though. I think I might get into that one a little bit because I want the spooky grave robbing vibes. So I might read a little bit of that this morning. It's also a stunning gloomy day today. Big fan of that. The weather is finally broken. It has been so hot here recently. For October, that is. It's been like in the mid 80s. And it's usually not that hot here. So I'm like, how am I supposed to have a stunning fall if I have to wear shorts and a tank top outside? But today it feels so nice. I'm so happy about the weather. I think it's supposed to continue to be cool from here on out. So I'm just so excited. So I want to spend the morning just having a cozy morning, you know, reading, doing whatever else I don't know. But yeah, I feel like that's all I have to share for the time being. I don't know when, but at some point I will come back, hopefully with a decent sized update on the Phantom of the Opera and another update on something else. So it's a couple days later. I still have not been doing quite as much reading as I have wanted to. I've done some reading, which I'm very happy about, and like we'll talk about it because I have such a good reading update. But I've also been spending way too much time working on my homework, but I've finally finished all 3 assignments that I had to do this week. So hopefully from here on out, I will be able to do a lot of reading. It is the first day of my Patreon readathon for October as well. So that's like, you know, another reason why I will be doing a lot of reading, because I have sprints with my patrons every day. hopefully for the next 5 days. That's my goal. So a lot of reading should be happening on those, so that'll be really fun. So let me tell you about the reading that I have been doing. I have not read any more of Phantom of the Opera. I definitely want to like read some more of that today, but my main focus over the last couple of days has been The Resurrectionist, and I have been loving this book. I went into it expecting to like it, you know, the vibes sounded good, but what I've been getting so far, I have been loving, and I'm kind of obsessed with it a little bit. Just the vibe, the characters, the atmosphere, the plot. I'm loving like every aspect of this book so far, and I'm so excited to talk about it. So basically in this book, we're following our main character, James, who is going to Edinburgh to study medicine at the University of Edinburgh, obviously. And when he gets there, he's talking to some of the lads that live in the same place that he lives in. And they're like, oh, are you gonna be attending the like surgical classes that are going on in Edinburgh? They're like not a part of the university, but they're, you know, like very related to what he's interested in. But these surgical classes are courses that you can take at like individual institutions. And in these classes, you can get like up close and personal experience with a cadaver. You can just like get your hands dirty basically. Whereas in the university, you don't really get that hands-on experience. I think, you know, they only have like one cadaver that everybody kind of looks at. So James is like, okay, like I am committing my life to science. I need to be in these classes. However, James's family is a little bit, you know, like down on their luck. His father recently died, and it turns out he didn't leave their finances in the best shape, so James is a little strapped for cash. But it turns out, you know, these courses are very expensive, obviously, as you would expect. So he ends up having to kind of strike a deal with one of these places so he can get a discounted tuition. And in exchange for this discounted tuition, he has to basically help them in their grave robbing pursuits. And at first he's like appalled, he's like, oh my god, this is ungodly, this is terrible, which like obviously it is. But as the book goes on, I feel like he's kind of just deluding himself into thinking that like, oh yeah, like this is for science, this is for progress, we gotta do this. Who cares about these poor dead people who just want to be, you know, laid to rest? They need to be operated on. So he has like come to terms with the grave robbing. He's even like a little bit enthusiastic about it. And I love the way that that portrays his like obsession with science. You can definitely tell that like he's very passionate about it. Any other avenue that he could possibly take in his life, he's never really excelled at, he's never really succeeded at it, he hasn't really been interested in it, but you can tell like his mind is made for science. So that passion really comes through in the way that he's studying and interacting with the stuff that he's learning at the university. But also it's coming through with him being okay with grave robbing, basically. So I really love how that is being portrayed so far. So the book is following him as he's getting more and more entrenched in this kind of like criminal underbelly of Edinburgh, of like all of these people who are grave robbing basically. They run into some scrapes, some, you know, close calls, all of that. And as the book is progressing, we're kind of seeing some external factors that are coming into play that are posing quite a threat for our main characters, and I'm so interested to read the second half of this book. I'm so excited to read some more. Because like I said, I love the plot. I love like everything that's happening in this book, but like the main reason I'm loving it so far... Oh, I just realized I'm not wearing my rings. That feels wrong. I always go to like fiddle with my rings while I'm talking or doing anything, so the fact that they weren't there was really throwing me for a loop. As I was saying, my favorite thing that I've really been loving about this book is the atmosphere and the attention to detail. There was so much time dedicated to describing Edinburgh and the vibe and the foggy streets and the cobblestone lanes and just like the feeling that our main character gets while he's in this place. I love that. There's just a lot of attention paid to the settings everywhere. There have been a couple scenes where they're out robbing graves in the middle of the night, and I love the... I feel like I'm just gonna keep saying atmosphere, but like it really is so good. Like the atmosphere of them being in the graveyard at the witching hour, digging up these graves. It's so spooky. It's so perfectly done. I love it so much. James also lives like he lives above like a pub, and naturally his window looks out on the graveyard, which love that so much. The way that this book is written is just giving me all of the spooky, creepy, grave robbing vibes that I was really hoping for from this book, and it is so delivering. Oh my god, it is delivering. I also really like a lot of the characters that we've been introduced to aside from James as our main character. He has a group of guys that he hangs out with that attend the university as well as these surgical classes with him, and I just really like the rapport that he has with them. It's very joking, you know, like lads, whatever kind of vibe. But you can also tell tell, especially with his friend Charlie, that they really are close friends and they care a lot for each other. So I like that. But then also there is, you know, like the grave robbing crew that he goes out with, that he's also kind of developed a rapport with, especially this one guy whose name is Aniran, and he's the assistant of the guy that runs the surgical school that James attends. And you know, there's definitely a vibe between them. I love the dynamic that has been forming between them, honestly, like eating it up a little bit, and I feel like it's like the perfect little like sprinkle of a something going on in this book, which I wasn't expecting, but I very much enjoy. And just, oh, like the culmination of all of that in this book, it's just been so good so far. I truly cannot believe that this is Avery Dunlap's debut, because the writing is excellent. I really like the plot. I like the characters, like just everything about it. I'm eating up, to be honest. And it is like the perfect read for this time of year. I feel like October or November would definitely be a really good time to read this book. It very much reminds me of Anatomy of Love Story, obviously because that book is also about grave robbing and it takes place in Edinburgh. But this is like a more grown up, queer kind of version of it, I would say. And I'm just really liking it so far. As I said, I'm about halfway through. I'm probably gonna finish it up today. I actually might focus on this today as opposed to Phantom of the Opera, because I just need to know what's happening. I feel like things have kind of taken a turn in the last chapter or so that I've read, and I'm very interested to see how this book ends. So that is what I've been focusing on for the last 2 days. It's been stunning, honestly. I've done some other things in the last 2 days. I've watched 2 movies, obviously still continuing that. The night before last, I watched The Changeling from 1980. I really like the vibe of The Changeling. The story itself was fine. I enjoyed it. It was definitely, you know, like scary without being too scary. But what I really loved was the setting of that movie. It takes place in this like old historic mansion on the outskirts of Seattle that our main character is moving into. And I love things like that. Give me a haunted house with a sordid past and I'm into it. And then last night I decided to watch Crimson Peak, which I'd also say I liked. Again, like the vibe of the movie was excellent. I feel like I'm just like, everything I'm talking about right now, I'm just like, oh my god, the vibe. I'm a big vibe reader. I'm a big vibe watcher. If the vibe is good, I'm probably gonna be content with it. But I love Crimson Peak because it takes place in like late 1800s and I love the costumes. Oh my gosh, the costumes that the main character is wearing, I was obsessed with them, honestly. Although the whole time I was watching it, I was like, if I had to wear any of this nonsense to sleep, I'd be pissed, because she'd be wearing these like elaborate gowns that kind of look like you would be going to a fancy party in them, but she was just like going to sleep. She had this like high ruffle collar and these like big ass sleeves. She was just like in bed. I'm like, I truly could not survive in the Victorian times if that's what I had to wear. I don't know how like accurate that is. I don't know anything about 1800s fashion, so like don't ask me. But if that is the case, I certainly wouldn't have survived in all those poofy ass dresses. And then something else that I've been making progress in. Every night while I've been watching my movie, I kind of use that as dedicated knitting time. So I have been working on my sweater more. Is this the front? The stupid stitch marker that I had that marked the front and the back of this broke, and I didn't realize it until like a couple days ago. I just found it on the floor. I bought this pack of plastic stitch markers, I don't know, like 2 months ago or something. Almost all of them are broken. And I'm like, what did I pay $3 for? They're so crappy. I'm still kind of pressed about it, honestly, but it's fine. I'm fine. I think I know which side is the front of this. Nah. But I've made so much progress on the sleeve. I finally gotten to the point with the sleeve where I'm doing the ribbing. I'm doing a half twisted rib on it, I think. So I'm not twisting the pearls. I'm only doing the knitting twisted. But I think it's looking good so far. I definitely want the ribbing to be like pretty thick, so I do have quite a ways to go with this, but I think it looks really nice and I'm so happy because I tried to do a half twisted rib on the bottom when I was doing my couple of attempts at it and I kept getting the needle size wrong on it, so it'd be like too big or too small. But now I finally think I figured it out and I think I'll be able to use like the same needle size for the big ribbing on this too, and I think it'll work. So the knitting's going well. My goal maybe today is to finish the cuff ribbing. I feel like I could do that and then I can get started on the next sleeve. I'm also really excited to finish the sleeve so I won't have like multiple balls of yarn attached to this thing, because I have the 2 that I'm working with and then I have this one which I have secured with a hair tie, which is the remnants of the bottom. I just kind of gave up on the bottom. I was like, I need a break from this and this needed to go somewhere. It's so cumbersome to like take places because I'm always having to like gather up all of my yarn balls and it's annoying, but I'm making progress. I think I'll be able to attach 2 of my balls of yarn or detach 2 of my balls of yarn today. But I wanted to tell you that my sweater is going well and I'm gonna put it back in its bag. My mom gave me this bag for my birthday with like books in it, and it is now my knitting project bag. But yeah, I feel like those are all the updates that I have for you guys this morning. It is currently 9:30, so I have sprints in half an hour. So I'm very excited to jump on those, and I will be reading some of this. I'm thinking also today, I can find it. Where did it go? I've located it. I'm thinking today I'm also going to read The Body Snatcher. You know, I might read, because I'm only going to do short sprints today, I might read The Body Snatcher on those short sprints. I feel like that would be a good idea to just like read these in tandem. Oh, I'm so excited. I feel like it's so weird to be like, oh my god, I love grave robbing. But only in the fictional sense, okay? Just like the fictional accounts, I love them. So I will see you guys at some point in time. Soon? Probably soon. With an update. Hopefully I've finished this. Hopefully I've made some progress on the Twisted Dead. Hopefully I've made some progress with Phantom. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. again a couple of days later, but I do have quite the update, quite the lengthy update for you guys this morning because I have finished 2 books, I have continued a book, I've done some fun things, I've worked on my sweater. We just have a lot to share, okay? So a couple days ago, I did go apple picking. It was so lovely, honestly. I had the nicest time. It was just so quiet. There weren't a lot of people there. The weather was so beautiful. It was like, you know, not cold necessarily, but it wasn't too hot. Although this place that we went was like really hilly, so like when I was walking up those big hills, then I was getting a little sweaty. But aside from that, it was just such a lovely day. And then yesterday I made some cinnamon rolls, which I've never made cinnamon rolls before. And I feel like for my first attempt, they turned out all right. I think they tasted pretty good. I think the only thing is I made them with cream cheese icing, which I don't love. I honestly thought I would like it more, but I feel like the cream cheese icing was too cream cheesy almost, which sounds ridiculous, which is why I think I need to make something with just like normal icing if I try these again. I will leave the recipe that I used down below. It's like a very easy beginner kind of cinnamon roll recipe. There's only 1 rise in it. You don't really have to leave it to sit for very long. And those are the couple things that I've gotten up to, but as I said, I have quite a few reading updates. Let me start off with the books that I have finished, because I have finished The Resurrectionist by A. Dunlap, and I absolutely loved this book. And if you have any room on your fall spooky October, November, whatever TBR, I would highly recommend you guys pick this up. I really loved the direction that this book took because the first half of this book is very much focused on James in the present, what he's doing, getting involved in all the grave robbing, which I loved all of that. But the second half of this book focuses a little bit more on what his home life is like, what his childhood was like, how he's kind of breaking away from that, how he's getting what he wants out of life instead of what his family thinks he should be doing in life. And it was just a really satisfying character arc to watch him go through, and you're definitely like rooting for him. Even though he's, you know, doing some questionable things, his intentions are good, at least. So you're wanting him to like break away from this life that has been destined for him and just to do what he wants with his own life, basically. His family sucks, honestly. They're just so focused on what everybody else thinks of them and what their standing in society is. And James is literally just like, I don't want anything to do with that. Just like, let me stay here, focus on my medicine, do my grave robbing, don't worry about me. So I loved watching him just kind of defy the societal norms that were very much present for a lot of people at the time. But I also really love the direction this book took in regards to the grave robbing side of everything. At first it's all very small scale, but as the book progresses, the players that are involved in it are getting a little bit more threatening, I would say. The stakes are definitely a lot higher as we're moving into the second half of this book. And I just really enjoyed some of the characters that were brought into this story. I really liked the threat that they posed. I really liked all of the kind of tense, dramatic scenes that came of some of these situations that our characters were getting into. And I just loved this book, to be honest. I just feel like it was the perfect mix of like a spooky grave robbing story with really great characters. There's also a little bit of romance, there's drama, there's tension. I just really liked it. It was great. So definitely will be on the lookout for whatever A. Dunlap decides to write next, because I will have to check it out because I loved the writing. I just loved the story, and it was just a really good pick for this time of year. So there's The Resurrectionist. Big fan of this one. And then I have also finished a whole other book that I haven't even talked about yet. So I did go ahead and finish up The Twisted Dead. As I said, I decided to work on my sweater a little bit more, which I'll show you in a second because I'm very excited about it. But I decided to listen to this one primarily, well, like basically all on audio. I think I maybe read like 4 pages physically, and then I was like, I kind of want to work on my sweater a little bit. So listen to this one on audio, and I really like this one too. This is a really solid installment in the series, and I'm very happy that I'm like back in it, back acquainted with these characters. I'm very much ready to jump into The Holodead, which is the next one, and then, well, I can never remember what the 5th one is called, but I will hopefully be reading The Holodead and that one before the end of October, because now that I'm like back in it, I'm like, okay, we're unraveling things, we're learning things, I need to know more about what's going on. But in this one specifically, we're kind of dealing with Kira and her friends, Mason and Zoe, as they are invited to the mansion of this very reclusive guy who lives in Blighty, which I love the name of the town that this is in. They're really confused as to why they got this invitation, so they decide to go, and when they get there, things are just like a little bit weird. They come to find out that this guy, whose name is Dane, has these ghosts that are living in his house and are kind of like feeding off of his essence almost. And our main character Kira, being somebody who can talk to ghosts and like help them move on, obviously takes it upon herself to figure out what's going on, and that definitely opens up this like whole wider thing that our characters end up going on. I really like that in this one it kind of focuses on this more small scale thing that our characters are doing while still very much feeding into the overall plot of this series very satisfyingly. I've been waiting to get more information about what's going on because if you guys don't know, our main character Kira in the first book wakes up in the middle of the forest one night. She doesn't know anything about herself. She doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know why she's here. She doesn't remember anything that's happened in her life like at all. But there are these people chasing after her and she finds out that she can talk to ghosts and all of this. So she's trying to figure out how all of this fits together, and like that's the whole thing we're figuring out over the course of this series. And I feel like the first two books kind of set up some of the information that you end up learning throughout the series, but I think in this one a lot more things start to come together and the plot has definitely thickened. It definitely did not go in a direction I was expecting it to, but I do like the direction that it has gone in. I think it's really interesting. Also, this is so off topic, but I totally forgot that our main character Kira has a cat whose name is Daisy. I totally forgot about that. I was like, oh my gosh, when I was reading the series initially, I didn't have a cat named Daisy, but I now have a cat named Daisy. So maybe it was a subconscious thing. It actually wasn't. The reason we named her Daisy was because I wanted a flower name for a cat because we have Poppy, and I was like, we need another flower name, so we have Daisy. Winnie's just not involved in that naming scheme for some reason, but it makes sense, it makes sense. Something else I really enjoyed about this book specifically is the dynamic between the three main characters that we're following in this series. I feel like their bond is definitely growing as the series progresses, and I just really like the rapport that they have. You can definitely tell how much they really appreciate Kira as their friend and how much they want to help her with her current predicament, and they're willing to go to some lengths to help her out, let me tell you. They've been put in so many tense situations throughout this book. I feel like the last half of this book was honestly just one whole tense situation. I also just really like the characters in this series overall. I feel like Kira and Mason are rather normal characters, but their friend Zoe cracks me up. She is so weird, but in the best possible way. She's really into conspiracy theories. At one point she reveals she's like, I have 6 different aliases, all with like different backstories in case I could possibly need them. And it's just so random, but so funny. They also have this kind of friend whose name is Harry, who's like this goth, very moody kind of guy. And at one point when they were in the car, they were listening to his like Screamo Band's album or something, and it was so stupid. Like the names of the songs, there was like death, 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 and like thinking about death, and all of these just like over the top like emo song titles, which I was entertained by, I can't lie. So they're just like some characters in this book. Some of them do seem a little bit like caricatures in a way, but I don't even mind because I'm just entertained by it. But yeah, this was really fun. I feel like every single chapter was honestly like leaving me off on a cliffhanger. I just like had to keep going. I couldn't stop reading. So I'm very excited to jump into The Hollow Dead. So that should be very fun. So there's my second book done for the vlog. This is also my second book done for my readathon because I needed to read a book with a haunted house. And this one, even though it's not completely set in a haunted house, it deals with a haunted house. So it's good enough for me. Oh, something else that I've been reading over the last couple of days. It's not really like a book that I've talked about, but I've finally been reading some more poems out of Poems Bewitched and Haunted. Well, actually I say more, like I've read any poems out of Poems Bewitched and Haunted before now. But I'm doing, like I said, my Patreon readathon this weekend, and at the start of every sprint and like in between every sprint, I'm reading a spooky poem for us. Because there's a whole section in this book on dangerous venues, which is basically just about haunted locations. And some of these have been duds, but some of these I've really liked. I remember I really liked The Haunted Palace. I think that was a favorite of a lot of the people who were on the sprints. And was there another one that was good? Oh, I really liked The Fearful Traveler in the Haunted Castle. What a better title, by George Moses Horton. That one was really fun too. So I have been really enjoying reading some of these like out loud. I just feel like I like that so much more than just like reading them myself. I don't know, there's just something about it that is just so fun, especially like share it with everybody and we can all share our thoughts a little bit. It's been really nice. So have been reading a few of these. I want to finish the dangerous venues section during like the readathon, so that'll definitely be happening. So wanted to share that. And then I'm probably not going to give you guys an update on this right now just because I've talked about so many other things in this update. But I've read 50 more pages of Phantom of the Opera and I'm still continuing to really enjoy it. I'm on page 106 right now. And the P of the O, as he has been referring to himself, which sounds so ridiculous, is doing some unhinged things, honestly. I feel like at first, some of the things that the Phantom of the Opera was doing to those who weren't acquiescing to his wishes were just like kind of prank feeling, kind of funny almost. But then he's also done some things that are just absolutely destructive and diabolical for no reason. Well, maybe there's a reason. I don't know what his reason is yet. But I've still been continuing to enjoy it. I feel like I've, you know, been learning a little bit more about Christine and Raoul, who is the guy that's like low-key obsessed with her. And after learning more about like their history, I guess it makes more sense that he's like kind of obsessed with her. But it's still a bit much, if you ask me. Again, I'll give you guys a better update on this when I've read more of it, but I'm liking the Phantom of the Opera, and this is gonna be my main focus for today. I don't wanna put this out there, but I would like to see if I can finish it today. It's 280 pages, so that'd be like 170 pages to read, which isn't completely undoable, I dare say. I am gonna put it out there. We're gonna see if I can do it, so. I'm gonna be reading some more of the Phantom of the Opera, and hopefully if I can finish the Phantom of the Opera, then I can also read Phantom of the Auditorium tonight. I'm honestly like really excited to read this Goosebumps book. But before I get into some reading, I do quickly want to show you guys, or give you an update on how my sweater is going. I'm also about to run out of time on my memory card, so we're gonna have to do this quick. I finished my sleeve. I can't really show you that well, but look, I think the ribbing on the cuff looks really nice. I'm very happy with how my sleeve turned out. And I've been working on the bottom ribbing. I think it's going well. It might be going well. I don't know. I'm gonna cry if I have to redo the ribbing on the bottom again, honestly, because this is my third attempt at it. But I think it's looking okay. The only problem is it's like flipping up a little bit, and I don't know how to fix that. So I'm gonna hope it'll block out. I need to make it like at least twice as long though, so I think that'll also maybe help with the flipping, but anyway, my camera's screaming at me that I'm running out of time. So I'll see you guys later, hopefully with some reading updates. I'm gonna start with some reading today. I'm gonna do some reading later. I don't know what else I'm gonna do, but I will see you guys later. So it is the next day, and this vlog is literally going up in like 12 hours. So I am back with a final update. Winnie is also here. If you can see her a little bit right there-ish. She is cleaning herself. Oh, you're so cute. But I wanted to come back and give you guys some final reading updates. I also went to Half Price yesterday, and I got a book that I was not anticipating reading, but then everybody on my Patreon was reading the book, and I was like, I'm a little bit tempted to pick it up. So I decided to pick up Mate by Ali Hazelwood. Here's my tiny book haul that I'm giving you before I give you any more reading updates. I read Bride when it came out last year, and there were elements of it that I liked, but overall it wasn't my favorite thing. I feel like I remember there being like a stupid third act conflict nonsense going on, and it pissed me off. So even though I liked parts of it, there were parts of it that weren't working for me. However, my lovely patrons who have read the book have been raving about it, saying it's actually really good, even better than Bride. So I was intrigued, and it sounded fun, and I love a supernatural romance. So I decided to go ahead and pick it up. I'm very excited about it. If you guys don't know, this is a series that's kind of about these vampires and werewolves. I think in the first one there's like an arranged marriage. I don't exactly know what's going on in this one. Apparently our main character is a human werewolf hybrid. I don't know anything else about this book, but I'm gonna be reading this one very soon, so I'm excited about it, and I wanted to share. Hello! Oh, can you see her? You're so cute. Oh my gosh. Aside from my book haul, I do have a couple of reading updates. Not the reading updates that I was hoping to come on with today. But I have some reading updates. I know yesterday I was like, oh yeah, I like totally think I can finish the Phantom of the Opera. Not even close. Not even close to finishing Phantom of the Opera. I sat down last night, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna finish it, but I'm gonna try to finish it, and then I proceeded to fall asleep like 5 minutes later. So me finishing Phantom did not happen. I am now on page 184 though, so I am well over halfway through the book. And let me obviously give you an update for like what I have read. I think I'm gonna read the rest of this in like one of my next videos, because I do want to continue to share my thoughts on it, but it just did not happen in this one. And that's okay, that's okay. But I have been liking this book so far. I don't know if I'm liking it as much as I was hoping I was gonna like it, but there are definitely a lot of elements to it that I'm enjoying. I feel like the last 80 pages have really been diving into the dynamic between, like the Phantom, Christine, Raoul, which, oh my god, Raoul gets on my nerves. This man is so irritating. And to some extent, I kind of get why he's acting the way that he's acting, but also he is just so like inserting himself in every situation, making things that probably shouldn't be his business, kind of infantilizing Christine in the way that he talks about her. And like every time he opens his mouth, I'm like, shut up. Like there's this one scene where he sneaks into Christine's dressing room and he hears people coming, so he like hides in the closet or whatever, and he overhears some stuff that, like Christine didn't want to share with him, and he brought up that information at one point, and he was like, well, like, what about this? And she's like, how do you know that? He was like, I overheard it from you, as if it's her fault that he's aware of this information that he shouldn't know. And he just has this very possessive attitude towards Christine that gets on my nerves. And I know like a big theme of this book is like passion and obsession and all of that, and that's all well and good, like I get it, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't get on my nerves and that he doesn't irritate me. I just had to get that off my chest, honestly, because he's been irritating me for the last like 24 hours. But the rest of the book I have been really enjoying. We have been slowly learning a little bit more about the Phantom, as well as the voice that Christine keeps hearing. I'm a little bit, in the dark as to whether the Phantom of the Opera is the same thing as the voice, whether they're two different characters. I'm not exactly sure what the conclusion of this book is going to be. I don't really know much about the story of the Phantom of the Opera, outside of just a very general understanding of the vibe of the story, I guess. So I am very intrigued to read more of the story and just learn more about this singular character, multiple characters, I don't exactly know. I'm also continuing to really enjoy the Opera House as the setting for this book. As things have progressed, we have kind of unlocked more and more parts of the Opera House. Apparently there's like this underground lake, there are underground passages, there are also these areas that are kind of like up above the Opera House. We also went to the roof at one point, and I feel like this book just does a really good job at setting the scene of where you are in the Opera House, what the vibe is like, what our characters are thinking about it. I just really like the opera house as a setting for this book. I do also find the structure of this book to be very interesting because for like half of the book, we're following Christine and Raoul and the voice and trying to sort that out. And the other half of the book is focused on the new owners of the opera house, kind of sussing out the Phantom of the Opera, figuring out if he's real, acquiescing to his demands, finding out what bad things will ensue if they don't do what he wants them to. I do find those chapters to be quite entertaining. I'm liking the more kind of like spooky atmosphere that that's bringing in, and I'm just enjoying it. I think it's been a fun time. It's also a very readable classic. I think this was written in like 1910, yeah, so it's like a little bit more of a modern classic compared to, you know, like Jane Austen or whatever, which is kind of what I've been reading a lot classic-wise recently. So it's kind of just nice to have a slightly more modern writing style. I find it to be a little bit easier to read. There's just a lot of stuff going on in this book that I have been liking. So this is kind of my final update on Phantom for the time being. I definitely plan to finish this up hopefully throughout the rest of the week, and maybe I'll give you an update on it in my next vlog. We'll see. I'm not sure. I have so much stuff to do the next week. I have so much studying that I have to do over the next like 3 days. I'm not excited about it, but hopefully I can slip in some reading of Phantom of the Opera. So yeah, those are kind of my final updates on that. But then I have read another book because I decided I was a little bit tired of reading Phantom of the Opera and I wanted to switch to something a little bit lighter, but still on that same vibe. So I did read The Phantom of the Auditorium. And, you know, I was gonna wait to read this until after I read Phantom of the Opera, but then I was like, it literally doesn't matter. Like, I'm sure this book is not gonna spoil Phantom of the Opera that badly. But I actually really like this one. I feel like this is one of my favorite Goosebumps books that I have read over the last couple of years. In this one, we're kind of focusing on two main characters, Brooke and Zeke, as they are, you know, trying out for their middle school play or whatever. And it turns out they're doing this play that's called The Phantom. And there is some lore behind this play going on at this school, because apparently 70 years ago or something, they were putting on this same play, and some really bad things happened, and the main star of that show disappeared, and nobody has heard from him since. Nobody knows what happened to them. So for some reason, they decide it's a good idea to put this play on again, and our two main characters get the starring roles in it, of course. So we're following them as they're going to theater practice, getting hyped for the play, for opening night, but bad things seem to be going on. It seems like somebody may be sabotaging the play, and our main characters obviously take it upon themselves to figure out what's going on with that. Well, actually, one of our main characters is being framed for some of the things that are happening, so obviously they take it upon themselves to figure out what's going on. And I feel like this one was decent, honestly. I really liked it in this one. It's a little bit more actually supernatural than some of the other Goosebumps books that I've read. I feel like, you know, some of them take the supernatural route, and then some of them are like, oh my god, it was just like a prank this whole time. Or it's like, oh, it was this just random guy this whole time. And it's so lame. But this one, you know, it had a little, you know, air of mystery to it. And I was like, ooh, okay. Kind of like that. I also liked, even though I haven't finished The Phantom of the Opera, there are definitely nods to Phantom of the Opera in it. Obviously, like, the general structure is following the Phantom of the Opera. But, like, the Phantom in this book was writing things in red paint, and in Phantom of the Opera, a lot of the Phantom's notes are written in red as well. So, a small, low-hanging detail, but I like the fact that that was in here. So, you know, it was a good time. I liked it. I feel like I need to get another Goosebumps book to read before the end of October. I should get a half price. Again, I should have looked when I was there yesterday. What a missed opportunity. And that's all the reading that I have done for this video. I did finish the 2 books that I was hoping to finish, and then I made a decent amount of progress in Phantom, so I'm very happy about that. Also, as for movies that I've watched, I can't remember what the last one I told you was. I have failed on my quest of watching a spooky movie every single day. On Thursday, I think it was, I did not end up watching a movie. I got back late from class and I just didn't have it in me. So my new goal for October is just to watch 31 movies. That's not necessarily one a day, but just like 31 movies overall, and I'll still be happy with that. But since the last talk to you, I watched Casper from, I cannot remember what year it's from, but like the original Casper movie, and I can't lie, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I thought it was fine. I really loved a lot of the scenic autumnal shots in Maine. Big fan of those, obviously. You know, but the story itself, I'm just kind of like, I never watched it as a child, so like that's probably also part of the reason that I didn't absolutely love it. But my main gripe with it is the fact that the house that our main characters are like going to stay in is so ugly. It's so gross looking. It's so like bulbous and round and just so unappealing to the eye. And I'm like, I get that they want to put them in a like ugly, creepy house, whatever, but like, why would you do that when you could put them in a stunning Gothic Victorian mansion that's still haunted? I just feel like it was a missed opportunity. Just putting that out there. And then last night I watched The Mummy from 1932, and I did like that one. I wish there was more of The Mummy in The Mummy, but I still enjoyed it. I'm working my way still through the Universal monster movies. I'm thinking, what do I want to watch next? I'm thinking next I might watch The Wolfman. I know my dad really likes that one. We watched The Mummy and The Creature from the Black Lagoon together, so we've been like watching one every Saturday night, which has been really fun. So I think he wants to watch The Wolfman next. So that's probably my next Universal monster movie that I'm gonna watch. What I'm gonna watch on my own in the interim, I'm not sure. I know for sure I want to watch The Village at some point. I have never seen it before, but I've heard good spooky things about it. And aside from that, I don't really know what else I'm gonna watch. Again, if you guys have any spooky, but not like horror movie recommendations for me, please drop them down below. I kind of, you know, like read books that are the same vibe as the movies that I want to watch this time of year. So if you have any good suggestions for me, do let me know. But with that, I think we've come to the end of the video. I also totally forgot I never got around to reading The Body Snatcher, which makes me sad. Maybe I'm gonna do a little like 24-hour readathon tomorrow. Maybe I'll read The Body Snatcher then. But regardless, I read 3.5 books in this video. Please do let me know if you guys have read any of them. Namely, have you read The Resurrectionist? And if you haven't, this is me telling you again that you should. If you want one recommendation from this video, read The Resurrectionist. I just like, it was so close to being a 5-star. I just loved it. It was so good. But with that, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all having an amazing October. I hope you're all having an amazing spooky season. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!